Now, you're about to watch a very long video, but it was important for us to share all of it with you and not like we usually do to edit it really down and share the full version only with our supporters on Patreon. Because we feel that it is very important to talk about all of those topics and we want to start a conversation. And as a place to have this conversation, of course, there is the comment section here in YouTube, but also we have a Discord server, and there is a place more privately as well with other artists and other creators, let's say, to talk about those things in a bit more an interactive way as well. So we would recommend you to head over there as well. Also, you will see in the video that we are talking live during the interview with some people from Discord, and that is because we are live streaming our future interview recording sessions into Discord. So if you want to ask your own questions, that's the place to be, to ask your own questions, I guess. As I mentioned before, this is not behind a paywall in Patreon only, but open on YouTube. But that also means that the Patreon supporters that we have are paying for this essentially, and they really allow us to push the quality and make better content for you and to have those conversations. So if you like that we do those things, then I very much appreciate it if you take a look over on our Patreon page and maybe consider supporting us and get some extra benefits along the way. Welcome to this live interview session. So right now you might be watching it either live on our Discord server or you might be watching the recording on YouTube. Doesn't matter. We will be talking about topics like feminism, equality, gender, etc. And for that, we have some wonderful guests with us. And we can start over there.
Hi, I'm laVie. I'm half Colombian, half Lithuanian. I work with inclusion dance, and I'm happy to discuss gender today with you guys.
Yes, and we had an interview together already some time ago. And in that interview, in the edit that you saw on YouTube, we focused it to be more about the whole inclusion side of the work of Concrepos, your company. But we also talked a lot about gender and equality and feminism in that interview. So I'm super happy to have you back to actually give that a space now here as well in a beautiful context.
Thank you so much.
Then, of course.
Well, I'm Lisanne van Berlo. I'm now in my fourth year of Fantis Dance Academy. So I'm a dancer, but now a little bit investigating the artist life more. And I just made my first own directed video, which we're going to talk about.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
In case you haven't seen the video is called Contract, and you can find it on our YouTube channel, in case you haven't watched it yet. If you're watching it live, just watch it after. If you're watching the YouTube version of this interview, then quickly press pause, head over and watch that video, because it's a super impressive piece of work. So it would be a pity if you haven't seen that. And then we have our very own Mariona.
I'm Mariona and I'm from Spain and I'm a photography-based artist. Yeah.
Nice. And Mariona is a little bit shy, but we'll get her there. And in her work, if you're on Discord, you've seen some of her work actually already. Then you'll understand as well why she is sitting here with us, as she's busy with those topics in her own work as well. And myself, I'm Jacob. I think by now you should know me. If not, then I'm a circus artist and dance. I don't know. I do performances. And yeah, I'm doing those interviews here with Capta, laVie. Now, let's jump right in and talk about contracts.
Yes.
We already talked a little bit in the pre-production of this whole thing about how that piece came together.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice if you can share that a little bit with the rest of us.
Yeah, well, in September 2020, so not that long ago, I wrote the text. I was just, after like a tough day, I was sitting outside and looking at the stars, and I was thinking like how strange life can be. And I just had like a sentence in my head of like, yeah, did I ever say yes to all the things that happened to me? You know, did I ever like accept it or like say, oh yeah, okay, let's go. So that just kept on in my mind, and then I wrote, I think, the text like in 15 minutes, 20 minutes, just out of nowhere. I just was like, whoa, 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 whoa. It just all like came down on the paper, and yeah, then I decided, like, I don't know, it meant a lot to me, and I was like, okay, maybe I want to make a video out of it. And then I just started visualizing, and then for me it works like I go in a sort of like stare or gaze, and then I visualize everything. So I heard like the text, and then I see out of nowhere I saw like red dress, and I saw this, and then hands, and I don't know. Then it came all together like in time, and I contacted then Daniel Nicoletti, like called Continuous Visuals, and I knew him already from my friends who had like photo shoots with him, and I thought his vision or his art was super nice, and really from this time. So I thought like, okay, maybe I can make a video with him. And then I already recorded it in November, but I was like, okay, we still have to edit, and I was like, okay, with all the time in the world, because I was pretty nervous to share it. So I was like, okay, with all the time. And eventually, on then the 8th of March, on also Women's Day, which wasn't planned, which is super
perfect
weird.
coincidence.
It was super coincidence. It came out, and I don't know, the reactions were super beautiful and heavy, but beautiful. Yeah.
What were those kind of reactions? What were things that people said after seeing the video and seeing your work?
Yeah, they was also super surprised because it was really personal, and I'm always like, pretty closed off, or like, especially on social media. I'm just like, okay, I'm sharing dance, but I'm not gonna put my whole life story on social media so everybody can see it. So that was the first time I really shared that's something personal. So I also got a lot of questions from people, also just through Instagram or other messages, which I get because it brings up questions. But it was also beautiful to see that so many people recognize themselves in it. Which was, I know it happens a lot, but it was a surprise for me still that many people I know also recognized, because it's just a topic you never talk about. So it was good. Like, I felt it was a good thing that people said it to me, like, yo, I recognize myself in it. But it's also heavy to know, like, whoa, it really happens a lot. So it's double.
You talk a lot about this whole thing of it being a taboo to talk in the public space. And well, we are in a private space here. So that is beautiful. So I would love just if all of us together could just really name things, really put them almost stereotypically black on white somewhat, but to really say things very straightforward and to take it as an action to destroy this taboo situation with that. What are things that you would like to say in that context, to put out like that? Are there?
Well, I think already the word rape is like super taboo, because it has like a big, I don't know, image with it, like rape. Like the word is already, people are like, wow, so heavy. So that's already something you don't talk about. Just sexual assault already, or saying, hey, it's my body, I have the right to say it's my body, so don't touch it. And people can say like, oh, don't exaggerate, I was just doing it for fun, it's just a joke. And then you're like, yeah, but it was my boundary, and you crossed it. But then people think you're maybe exaggerating or something.
It's almost a taboo to say no.
I think it really is.
I think I totally get what you're saying. And for me, I recently, maybe like a year ago, I was talking with my boyfriend, and I told him, like, I had really unpleasant experiences in relation to that, like men showing them their parts when I was a kid, or me being touched inappropriately by a older cousin. And I told him, this is super common. If you ask any woman, we all have those kind of stories. And he was really shocked, and we kind of started a little bit of inquiry, and we start to asking friends, and that's the case. Like every woman that I talked about these topics, they have a story. They have a sad story, a strong story to share about that. Or, well, maybe not everyone is willing to share, but they have had those experiences.
Yeah.
And we are talking about something like a violent action, right? But even before that, all the pressure that we have to suffer because we are women, and how we are undermined, like our opinion is not so valid, or how, if I'm with a man, the other man is going to talk to the man and not me, or like all these little situations that happen constantly. And I have to say, also here in Europe, as well in Latin America, I have seen that, and it's a very strong reality. And it's not about an opinion, it's not about an feeling. There are facts. We are on an inequality position, and we suffer a lot of oppression and even violence just because we are women.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this thing of taboo of not saying no, for example, and like most of the time it's like focus on the external person to you, like someone that you don't know, but it also happens with someone you're close to. Like it can also happen with your partner, and like the fact of being of not wanting something, but doing it because you don't have the right to say no, or what if you say no, and what's gonna happen, like what's to you, you know? It's mostly you like talk like about the external world of you, but also happens to the most.
What I get right now is that there is as well a lot of fear behind it of what might the consequences be if I say no, if I try to stop it. I would like to know what, apart from just creating awareness towards the things that are happening and towards how male behavior and male expectations have an effect onto women in their surroundings, be it their friends, or be it on the street, or be it in a cafe. What are things where as a woman really want to put the finger on towards, hey, be aware of that?
I just want to say something related to what you mentioned, because it's true. It's not that it's easy if, I don't know, if you're in a bus and someone starts to do something inappropriate, it's easy to call that out. And I mean, it's still strong, and still there is fear. But many occasions that line is blurred, and you as a woman also have a lot of guilt, and you're always, oh, is it my fault? I want to say no at this point, but I'm already making up with this person, but I don't feel comfortable. So yeah, also talking with my friends about this, we all had sex when we didn't want it, because it was this moment. So it's not always like someone is attacking me and I can say no. It's always also in this situation that is blurry. And it's important to know that even in those situations, even if you are, like really you always can say no. But also there is this thing that I have experienced a lot, and is men thinking that when you say no, it's like you're being like, they have to push more. They say no, and they're like, oh no, but yes, and it's a pressure. So at some point you end up giving up to this pressure. So I think it's important to say no. Like no means no, and it's still not so clear for everyone. So for me, that's something to think about.
I think it's also something that grew a little bit in society with the years, already like the past years, that when something happened between a man and a woman, then It's always like, yeah, but did the man really do it, or did she just ask it to do it? Or did she just like wear that skirt too short, or did she? It's almost that it has grown in the society that the women always have to think, oh, but or did I attract it? Is it somewhere my fault? And just that part of us always thinking, but maybe it was my fault, or did I look too nice, or did I say, and because of that thought system we never say immediately like, it's his fault, like I'm here the victim here. It's always like, oh, or did I, yeah, like that little shift of realizing that, like, without thinking that we have to think, okay, it's our fault, that would, I think, change a lot if we wouldn't consider every time, but maybe it's my fault.
And I think it's a very bad look on men also, because it's like men are these beasts that they cannot control themselves. So we have to be responsible for that and not wear the dress and not be nice and not do this. It's like men they are incapable of control themselves. And no, I think that's not the case. And we also need to change that assumption that we're doing. No, they cannot resist. You were there, you were doing that. What did you expect? I expect that he is a rational person and respect to other humans. Yeah.
I think that's really a point as well where the responsibility comes in. You mentioned this thing of, but you asked for it. No, nobody asked for it. It's what you interpreted into something. It's what you wanted to see to excuse your own behavior because you know that it's not right to do. You should, at least, I think. And it's kind of this justifying for yourself then of, but she asked for it. Where I think, okay, there needs to change something, and there men need to be taken into responsibility of, no, that's not how it is. You did that. And it didn't matter what that person was wearing or whatsoever, because you went too far. You went into a private space of another person. And that phrase that has nothing to do with clothing as well. And just, okay, have respect for each other, treat each other as human beings and not as prey.
Yeah, and for me, it's also like a super shitty thing that then, like, in most of the case, women, but also men, of course, experience this. But when that happens to women, we get hurt, we get a scar, or we get traumatized by it. But often that person doesn't think about it anymore, or thinks sometimes, oh yeah, that happened, but okay, it's so like not fair how that one person is left hurt and the other goes just on with his life. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
What I would be intrigued to know is, how is it, I mean, as we are all artists sitting here, how do these things influence the artistic work? And
give it some time.
Okay, I give you some time, so I go first in that direction. I mean, for you made a piece about it, which was very strong and very clear inside of that. But as well, I mean, you do inclusive work with dancers, without disabilities of different kinds. But in our interview, we still came to talk about those topics. So it definitely has an influence. I would like to know how are you treating with those things, and how are you dealing with those topics in your creative process?
Well, I think it's very important to have these discussions about gender, because I also hear sometimes like, no, we have to go beyond that, and it doesn't matter if it's woman and man, let's come over that, we are all equal, and I don't think so. I still see many things within the dance world that are a bit, I think that we have to question that. For example, I see way more women as part of the community, but I see often men in the direction positions or being more famous as choreographers and getting more opportunities, and easier that they become the bosses. When I see way more women always in the classes in everywhere. So for example, that's something that we need to think about. And it's going beyond men and women. Now we have other options, and well, not now, but now it's more visible. And I think as artists, we are also in that space of being able to express beyond what is possible so far, and breaking those barriers and expressing and showing something new, not to create the future. We have that power. We can create images of the future, at least.
Yeah.
Nice.
You mentioned this whole thing of everybody is equal and going beyond gender and things, where you said clearly, okay, no, but to really look at the individual there as well, and respect that person as the individual as well. And yes, there are differences between men, women, all the genders in between that there are, and how people identify, and there are differences, both physically, between men and women, of course, but also in your identity there are differences. People identify themselves differently, and that is something to respect as well, and to look at, to not try to whitewash everything and put it all just into one bigger box and say, okay, it's done. That doesn't really solve anything, because those people still have their identities and need to be respected as well, I think, as the identity that they have. And they're becoming as well towards self-finding a little bit, and I'm trying to hint in that direction again. Trying to maneuver this corner. Because that is something that you are busy with as well in your current project.
Yeah.
So let's share a little bit what you do to get into it.
Well, I don't think like it's like what I'm working on. It's more in that direction we're talking right now, because like my work is more focused on like the understanding of myself through my body, and like all my experience. How do I relate that to my body and my mind? And a bit of like getting like, it all started by trying to get comfortable and confident with my body, and with my body in front of a camera, since it's the way I express myself, and I can express myself. But it led a bit to the point of trying to understand what happened to me and how I am and stuff through my body and through my image. But yeah, I mean, it's like for me, the most difficult part was to get ready to say, okay, I'm gonna get undressed in front of a camera, take pictures of myself, and then since this is like my biggest work, like it's the point of my work, what I do, I'm gonna publish it, because that's what I do, that's my message, and that's what I want people to know. That was the biggest, the most difficult part of it, because it was like, yeah, okay, what's gonna happen? Because it's my body naked in a picture. And but yeah, that's, I don't know, now I'm kind of lost. That's why I don't like it. But yeah.
But this whole process of getting comfortable in your body is, of course, very connected to identity. And especially people that do not identify with your traditional set of male and female, there is a lot of struggle, obviously, to figure that out, because it's not just, okay, I pick that or I pick that. No, but it's really defining something. And that is a process where, as artists, I think we are a bit more sensitive to, maybe, as we are working with our bodies and very, very busy with expression and emotions and communication, much more than in other jobs, maybe. I mean, I don't have that kind of job. So I don't know, but I would imagine that. So those people have to create their own space essentially. And in a world where the existing spaces are already being disrespected, where women are being disrespected, where you mentioned it before, as a man, you are the one taking the leading position and becoming famous, and then you are directing all your dances, most of them being female. The structures that we still have right now is what created that situation that we are in right now, and is definitely something to take care of and look at and figure out, okay, why did it happen this way, and how can we change that? How can we create a more equal space in a way? And as an artist, through what we do and through our communication with other people, with our audiences, I think it's very important that we use this opportunity of being seen, being looked at, to talk about those things. So for that, I'm very happy to have all of you guys here, of course. And I would like to know a little bit how to get closer towards that step. Maybe you started to go into that direction earlier on a little bit, and you work a lot in that direction with Concurrepos in regards to disabilities. So share a bit of that, maybe.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've learned through the inclusive work is that differences are not the problem. Differences are beautiful and great and wonderful. The problem is when there is inequality between those differences. So if one group has more power or is in a better position, that's when the difference is a problem, right? That's when we need to try to fix things. And it's just the fact that we have been, as women, in a worse position. So yeah, we have to all do the job, men and women, because this is also affecting men greatly. Yeah. Like the position that you guys have also that you are put in, like you have to be this type of person and strong, and that you have to provide, and you have to be successful, and your work has to be amazing, and you cannot express your feelings, and all of this. The problem is the same root, and it's patriarchy, and we all need to fix it. And yes, I think men need to also stand up from some chairs so we can sit, and we also need to fight for it, because it's not going to happen on its own. And I hope this fight comes more with dialogue.
Yes.
But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, well, it's so much information. I just have to process. Like I'm thinking, yeah, and oh yeah, true, yeah. Yeah. But I also want to say a little bit back.
Yeah.
Like also with being comfortable in your body. Also again for men and women, is also like a process of the actions that happen to you. Like, is it me, or are the actions like me? You know, like it's a long process of, okay, it's my body, but those things happen to me. So is that now my body because of those actions, or is it something that just happened and I can put it away? I just want to share that. I don't know. And I'm sorry, my head is like full of information right now.
No.
Yeah, no, and like what I was actually thinking as well about that topic as well, like your body and getting comfortable with it. We're right now like all, yeah, I don't know. No, I'm gonna start again. So yeah, there's like a image for a woman, and even like if you're a woman that you're not like the standard of that image, then that's also kind of the difficult part. I mean, I don't shave my legs, I don't shave my anything. I like also happens to me in the street where I if I wear clothes that are not for women, you know, for the men part, but for the naked part, it's like, okay, I don't identify as a woman, but sometimes maybe I don't completely look as the image of a woman.
Yeah.
And that's also like kind of like that difficult part of that process as well. Like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, just
And
wanted to put that.
It's also maybe a little bit the fight of, okay, when I portray this image of woman and walk on the street with it, then I get like those reactions maybe in eyes. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna wear baggy clothing because then I won't get the eyes and the sayings. But I noticed that it was really last week. Normally I don't wear naked things, and then I just had one, a little bit naked top, and then immediately I got things shouted to me and gazes, and that's what I thought, like, yeah, that's why I always wear baggy clothes and a scarf, so I shouldn't do that. But then I was like, okay, but now I'm not gonna do it because these things happen to me. So if I'm not gonna do it, I'm just gonna wear my whole life baggy clothes, and I'm not confronting it. But that's all really a fight of, am I gonna confront it but then get those reactions, or I'm gonna just wear baggy clothes and be safe or something? It's really a lifetime struggle. Yeah.
You should be able to wear what you want to wear.
Yeah.
And not having to restrict yourself and being oppressed by your surroundings to put yourself a certain way just to not be attacked. Because also a gaze or a shouting, all of those things are attacks already. Not just when it gets physical, but it starts way earlier. I mean, we're coming from a time where things were much more black and white, and things are getting more colorful in the last years, and more, and things are moving in a good direction compared to 100 years ago, 50 years ago, maybe. But there is still a lot of work necessary to be done from all the sides. You mentioned before, okay, there is, men have to behave a certain way to be accepted as a man, women have to behave a certain way to be seen as a woman. Nobody has to do anything. They need to be their own identity, and they need to get the space to create their own identity and discover themselves as well. So, and for me, that is a point where, for me, art and artists really come into play here as well again. Because for me, as an artist, as being on stage, as being looked at by other people, by being listened to by other people, I feel that there's also a certain responsibility of being on stage that we have to take care of and take into consideration when we make our choices of how do we want to portray something. And there is various different artworks in various different directions, but I think there is really a point of where change can start to happen, and where something can start to continue moving in that direction. I think. I don't know if that is a shared opinion or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think already as an artist, like, if you're already aware of exactly what you said, you have a stage. So you have public looking at you, you have exactly a perfect moment to give something to the public, because it's always the public watches the performance and you always take something with you. Even when you think that was a bad performance, I didn't like that because blah, blah, blah.
But you're already taking that.
Yeah, you're taking that with you. So if artists exactly become more aware, like, whoa, this moment, me standing on this stage is a moment I can give the public something they can take home, and maybe in their daily life or on the streets, is already one step, I think, towards that world we want to live in. Yeah.
I would problematize. How do you say problematize? Problematize. I would problematize a little bit this discussion. I think we are political beings, right? So I think being aware of all of these things is super important, but I don't think the artists are obliged to do something or to create certain kind of things. I think to be art should be super free, and even if there is a piece that is super I don't know, not gender good, that they also have the right to exist and to be there. So also as an artist, I don't want to feel the pressure that everything that I create in my art, it has to check all the political correctness boxes. I think as a person, as an individual, part of a society, I need to educate myself in all of these topics. For sure, that's something that I think that we can expect from people, but I wouldn't put that pressure into art per se, let's say. And there was something else that I just forgot. Was one and I think that's why I liked your piece, because you're mainly asking questions. Yes. You are not going there and say this is wrong and you have to do things like this. You just ask us a lot of questions, and you just create a stage or situation that are suggesting, and that you start to think, and then we can have a discussion, and everyone can have a different opinion about it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight that it was really nice to see your piece, that it was short, concrete, and like a straight question, to the public. You were not complaining or I don't know. It was just like, hey, this is something that I want to ask you, because I'm asking myself that.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the second point.
Towards now we're jumping back and forth. Towards the first part of what you said.
We need a board, and we say topic number one.
You have to take notes. Yes, I completely agree. Like the arts should be free and should be able to do whatever they will want to do, whatever they feel is necessary to do, and they should not be obliged to do something specific. Definitely not. But in this being free, the art in general is giving an example as well for what we are looking for, of freedom of being the individual you want to be. And for in that already art is taking that responsibility, I think, by being free, by not making something in a specific boundary, by not having to check all the political correctness boxes, by being controversial sometimes, by on purpose displaying something that is definitely wrong, to enable the ground for a conversation and for a discussion. And that is for me the main important thing, what I meant to be saying with that point earlier.
I have a question.
Yes, please. Questions from the off.
Because yesterday I was being involved in a performance with laVie, and she's a musician, and then she created a piece where she was talking about the artist, right? That you expect from an artist, that you have to be punctual, that you have to be clean, right? Like what society tells you, but then you also have to try to explore different things and go out of the rules, are all these two contradictions all the time, and then she was like, what the fuck I have to do? I just want to waste my time, and it's not being laid down there, it's just my time, and then she was being like this, but what do you think about that? Because at college, for example, it's an education, right? It asks you for some things that you need to have, right? But it's also an artistic school, and teaching art sometimes is weird, right? Because it's also subjective. And my point is, I just want to know your opinion and what do you think about it and what we should follow.
Yeah. Personally, there is two sides to it, to me. One thing is being respectful towards the other people you're working with. That is, like you mentioned, the point of being punctual. For me, that has nothing to do with art. That has only to do with being respectful towards the people in your surrounding. So for me, that is something important. And you should strive for being respectful with each other, and then other people will be respectful to you as well. So that is just a thing of a communal being with each other. The other point you bring up for me is a big question mark as well. Like, okay, there is an educational system around art, which is something super subjective. So can you teach? What do you teach? How do you teach? And then how do you grade things? There's a lot of question marks to myself there as well. I don't know, but that is a bit my own struggle that I had as well when I was graduating, and the discussions that I was having there about things, because okay, I had to bring a certain amount of circus into it, and it needs to fit in within this performance style of maximum 10 minutes and all those things. And I in the end managed to bend the rules quite far, and I was very proud of myself for that. And I'm still a little bit, but at the time it was more like bending the rules because I wanted to bend the rules and didn't have so much of a point with it. So now I think a bit differently about that looking back. But for me, this moment really helped me to define myself actually by having those boundaries set by the education. It really forced me to look into myself, to really define what do I want. Because if I'm allowed to do everything, I don't know, it's difficult. It's easier to say, okay, no, I do not want that, than to say, yes, I want that. Because if I try out something and I don't like it, I can say something about it. If I tried out something and I enjoyed it, okay, I can say I enjoyed it, but I didn't get further because I didn't eliminate anything from this huge list of opportunities and possibilities. That's my side.
Yeah, no, I was kind of going to say the same because, well, I'm on my first year of photography right now. And so it's my first year in an art academy. And at first, yeah, I had like with my colleagues at the class, they would like had some standards like, oh, you're an artist, so you should be like this. And I wasn't like in those standards. And they were like, oh, but you're in an art academy. No, I was like, yeah, well, I'm not like that way. But then in the class, in like how I was given, like how we're being taught, is that way? Yeah. I was like, yeah, kind of like, okay, how are they gonna do it? No, because how do you? And actually, yeah, there's like those limits sometimes that, okay, you have to do this. But what I find super interesting and I really love from where I study is that, okay, you have, for example, this assignment that you have to hand in at some point. You can do whatever you want. Just like have in mind that you should choose, for example, like right now we have like a project that you have to choose what is photography for you. And you have to choose 3 words that define photography for you. And then your project has to be based on those 3 functions that are photography for you. But you can do whatever you want. And you don't even have to do photography, even though you're studying photography. But just like, I think the point is to know who you are and like, what do you want to tell? And when you have clear what you want to tell, then find a way to tell it, to say it. But don't like get close in like a format, in like a way of doing it. Yeah. Just say it in whichever way. So yeah, I don't know. I think I got really lucky with it. But yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, well, I'm graduating like in a month from from Fantis, like dance academy. But I at like my first 3 years, I was always like, I'm gonna copy and paste everything. I'm gonna be there in every class. I'm gonna be there on time, copy and paste all the information. I have to like as a sponge. I have to get everything, and without really thinking of like, okay, but what do I think? I was just like, choreographer is hallelujah, teachers hallelujah. I will follow everything, and I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna be the quiet, neat student, which can also like is also good. But for me, really, when COVID happened, the classes fell away. So I was like, whoa, everything where my dance skills were built on fell away. So I had out of nowhere space to think like, okay, but who am I as an artist and as a dancer? What do I actually want when there's nobody telling me, do this step 5, 6, 7, 8, do this step. And so for me, it came really, like, it was weird, but it was really good for me that the classes fell away, because I had now really a lot of time to think, okay, what kind of dancer do I want to be, or what kind of message do I want to share, instead of just following everything and copying everything. So now I see really what the school gave me are a lot of tools, which I still have with me, but now I got a lot of space to think, what do I want to do with these tools?
Yeah.
That's now my vision of the education. Yeah.
For me as well. For me, there's a lot of this whole thing of being respectful with each other, also inside of the school there, because at some point you took the decision to go to the school. And then on the day of the class, you took the decision to go to the class. And you made that decision knowing what it will ask from you at the same time. So then you said yes to it, so then please fulfill it. That is respectful towards each other. Because the teacher and the other students, they are there for a reason as well. They are giving their own time and their own resources into the space for you to take in and for you to make something out of. So that needs to be respected as well. And by coming in late, that is disrespectful. If you realize for yourself, okay, this class is not something for me, well, then it is more respectful to not go at all to the class, but to at least then let the teacher or the person giving the class know, hey, I'm not coming, and that is why. Because that is also respectful, because they expect you to be there, because they plan it in a way for you as well. They spend their time for you. So then there still should be that conversation. And the other thing that I, looking back at my time at Kodats, more and more realize is as well, okay, there is so many tools that were given to me there that at the time I thought well, I don't like that, I don't need that, what the fuck am I doing here? And I would prefer to do this or that now, or I want to do it differently or whatsoever. Looking back, those things were really helpful. And I'm really grateful for having been there and for also having gone to the classes that I didn't enjoy, but still having been there, because now I realize afterwards only a lot of the things that were taught to me in those classes as well, and I'm super grateful for it. So you never know what you will appreciate later as well. So I think as well, it's something that I also talked about in the interview with Albert Galindo, to take in everything, to use all the opportunities you have, and to, well, play along the rules some as well. In your own work, you don't have to, but as long as you're in a responsible situation with other people, yes, there are certain rules to apply to, just to be respectful with each other as well. And what you do then later on your own is all up to you. Yes, discover your own creative freedom, please. But that is your own thing. That should not affect the other people, because they are there for their own specific reason as well, of wanting to learn something. And if there is somebody in the class on purpose doing the exercise wrong, or just distracting because actually that person doesn't want to be there, well, it has a negative effect on everybody else. And that is, again, disrespectful. That is what I think about it. To want that off a little bit, maybe. Let's your phone. I don't know your phone pin or something. But if there are people in Discord watching right now and want to say things and want to add things, then please do so. That's a complicated mess. Okay. Okay, yes, people vote some stuff. Adriana said something. Farewell and topics but require even more awareness. Yes, and as artists, we have even more leverage to spread the word. Yes, that is something we talked earlier about. Perhaps one point of discussion I could drop is the issue with the objectification of women and their body by men and by ourselves. And I recognize this theme in the video of Isan. When will we walk freely and dress freely and make choices about our bodies that are not related to the opinion of men or others having to matter? Social media also pushes girls to think that their bodies is there to attract men or others. Thousands of videos, how to be the sexiest for others, little about what you can do to be happy with your own body. Some men think that women bodies are there to attract, hence if it is too sexy, they will blame the women and say, hey, but you wanted it, see how you dressed. Lizard, this is an interesting topic to bring forward, I think, and your video is a great start. Now have a good evening.
Wow, sweet.
Beautiful. It's some topics we kind of strived by earlier a little bit already. But what you brought in new that we didn't discuss so far is the whole side of social media, which I think does play a big role inside of the whole perception of ourselves and how we perceive others. Now we are on social media ourselves and we are publishing things on social media ourselves with Capta laVie, but also all of us privately and independently. But what are your experiences there for how things are being portrayed and how does that affect you as well and how you look at things? I mean, it's a very subconscious process. I guess it's difficult to pinpoint it, but exactly that awareness might be.
Yeah, I have like a kind of like a really like quite good example for it. Like I have a little sister, she's 14 turning 15 like in some months, and she's like in that age that, oh yeah, Instagram, I want to be an influencer, you know, and she's like focusing on like a lot of famous people and that are like actually following the standards of a lot of things, and she like those are their references, and now she's having hard times like with getting like being good with herself, or like trying to find a way of how can I dress, how do I want to dress, or how should I dress, no, and stuff like that. So that for me it's a really good example of how like the role of social media can have like right now with that, because yeah, she's seeing like super skinny people that I don't know, dressing super well or whatever, and now those are like her like those are the things that she's struggling with, because those are her references now. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, and it's like the most you find mostly those things right now in the social media we most use.
Yeah.
For like in this part, I don't know.
And there's also a danger with like Instagram when she follows already a few influencers who post a lot of bikini pictures. Then Instagram will give you more pictures of that, you know, and then you create a whole bubble of like a shape of body you think is normal because you see it every day. So every day is like a constantly mental process of seeing that, okay, I have to be that, seeing that again, okay, I'm gonna also be that, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna do this, gonna do that, or now I also have to post a picture like this, do I want that many likes? And it's a whole system that just goes on and on and on. And I also have that with myself, I try to now unfollow some accounts which I think like it's beautiful, but I know it's not good for my mental health and my perspective of a body. So I've been more following more people who are just like, for example, posting more naked pictures, but more with the goal of like, I post this because I appreciate myself, and not with the message of I will do this because of the likes or because of the men who watch it or the people who watch it and find it sexy or something. Yeah, but it's really hard. Like it's a super thin line also. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, first, I'm super happy that I got being a teenager without this. I'm super happy that pressure was not there because all
But it
the
was still there, just
teenagers.
taken in a different form.
Yeah, it's true, but it's super strong and different because for a teenager, I've seen a lot of teenage girls, especially, and really. When you're that age, you're in process to create not yourself but also the world. So when you are getting the same story one and again and again and again, because that's what happens, that you only have one story.
Yeah.
And for me, it's really strong to see them super busy with makeup videos, because that's what's super trendy, how to do your makeup and all these things with the eyebrows and or all that you have to post pictures of yourself, sexy, showing your body. I'm happy that I was not there. I also see that most of their meaningful social interactions are through social media or through technology, even more now with the pandemic. So I'm also very happy that I got to play outside and go to parties and, and be with people, and that was my main social experience. But at the same time, I've learned so much through YouTube and Facebook and Instagram, and like I'm really I'm using all of those platforms, and I'm also a little bit of a video artist, so I love all the expressions that are there. I love memes. I love. I can be on YouTube for hours just following one video after the other. So at the same time, I think what you're saying is important, and is that we need to have always in every medium different stories. So what is dangerous is when you have only one perspective just repeating, but that you can have different stories, and you can get so many meaningful information on YouTube, because now we don't most of the things that we do and we learn, we do it on YouTube. Or if we need to know about a topic, we Google it and we read Wikipedia and we do it in just there. For me, I got my first cell phone when I was in the middle of my studies, so I was quite. I saw the difference. I remember a world where the encyclopedias were the place where you needed to find knowledge, and so I do see that is super powerful. That is amazing. I love that so many people can have a platform, and it's more accessible. But at the same time, I'm like, why so trendy these superficial things? Like I also when I was a young person, it was the rock and roll time, and people were like more progressive, and now it was just after Britney Spears and all that wave, everything just went down from the music to the rest of pop culture. And yeah, I'm very sad that the most trended topics are pictures of your ass and how to do your makeup, and
I want
so many perspectives of that.
I want to also point to the many stories part that you mentioned, because I think that's also important to make visual other stories. Because now I would put also my sister as example, but also myself, like all the references that I would have liked to have when I was a teenager, like all those stories that I would have liked to heard that I didn't, because of this babble, no. And it's happening as well to my sister, but like it's happening more and more. Like thankfully, there's like people and that trying to break that. Like I don't know how to say it, but like go beyond that and like make other stories and important stories visual. But yeah, it's like we mainly, I don't know how to say this, like we had, I forgot the word, but we tend to grow up with single story or like some like similar stories, and that also is the thing that it's like in most of my work present, because I've grown up with this idea of this thing, but now I see that it can be different, and it's really important to try to make all those stories visual.
Yeah, and I think in relation to the topic we are addressing today, we need many stories of women because there are not so many there. Like still, I was watching the statistic on Wikipedia, like the representation of women is like 20 less percent than men. So we are not even, we also need to address this in a gender perspective, the presence of women on internet and on...
Not, I would also say not only women, like queer people. Like I'm right now, I'm having my first exhibition in a month or something like that, about a project I've made last year of like the LGBTQ community collective, and I wanted to so it's a series of photographs, but I also wanted to combine it with poetry. And since it's happening in Catalonia, it's where I'm from, I wanted to make visual the LGBTQ poetry from Catalonia. You don't know how hard it's been to find those poems. But they are there, they are somewhere, but they're not available. And yeah, it just sucks because they're not visual for the rest. And of course, Catalonia is like a super small part of the world. But yeah, like I know there is content, but it's just not available because people decided not to publish, people decided not to, or even like they couldn't be published because of the time. So yeah.
But even more than, I think it's important to actively try to dig up those things.
That's what I'm
Bring them
doing.
out. So it's super cool. I like it. Nice. What else is there right now? Because otherwise, I would say we come slowly towards an end because I've looked at the time and it's been about 1 hour already.
Wow.
Time flies.
Yeah.
But what are other things that you might want to bring in still? Otherwise, yes. Try to speak loud so maybe those microphones pick it up as well.
We talked about that every woman suffered abuse in one way or another, right? In the beginning, and how we can fix that. But then my question is, would you be able to forgive these people to do that step forward? You know, like to be able to forgive even if they kick you, if they like kind of just try did, right? Like it's a huge effort because it's okay forgiving a monster, but it's like the step that you have to show to the world that it's possible to be able to people start forgiving and be able to fix these problems and not create more fights. But it's super hard. But it's just, could you or do you think it's truly possible?
Wait, I'll hide it in my mind. I think it's a difference when something happened to you that you're like, and that person did it, and I'm angry at that person. That's like a whole nother energy you're portraying, then it happens and it's super shit, but I'm gonna prove the world or like let people see how you can still manage it. And I'm like, for myself, I'm focused on how can I also with my art question people and also let them see like even when this happens, you still have a chance or something. There's still freedom, there's still possibilities, even if that monster still exists or not. I think that's already a whole different angle to make art than have a and this happened and this and we should do I don't know. I think maybe that little shift can already change a lot. I don't know if I'm clear.
Yeah, I would say something on the same line, and I think it's I mean, if you want to heal, you need to go through a process of forgiveness, and you don't even have to do it to the person. It's for you, no? Like it's something that you need. But we cannot forget, and especially because this is not something only related to individuals. This is a systematic problem from that is really rooted in every aspect of our society. So we need to keep the focus on fighting that. Like, yeah, I mean, I can forgive the specific person that attacked me, but that's for me because I really need that to continue with my life. But I'm still going to be a feminist and try to work for this in every scenario that is possible. And yeah, forgive but not forget. And remember that it's not about one person or another person. It's a systemic problem, and that's where you need to focus your energy to. I would say.
Yeah, but more than a fight is a wake up awareness, right? Because you see a fight, and what do? You punish the people that do those things, but as you said, it's a systemic problem. It's more huge and big than it just.
Because it's a power issue. It's some people not having or taking control of the power. We can see it from land, like my grandmother, she couldn't own land. That was not possible for her. Like I also in my I did a master's at Courts, and my final work was addressing all of these topics. And I did something very beautiful, and I did the chronology of the life of my grandmother, my mother, myself, and also my dancers did that. So we had to go and ask them at age of 5, say something that you were doing. We didn't even ask specifically gender-wise. We just, we did just a list. At age 10, I was happy playing. I don't know, like we went through the whole years, and it was so shocking that still we all face the same fears. Like in every story, it was like I was afraid to walk alone in the dark, for example. That's something that is still there. Like my grandma was afraid, my mother was afraid. I'm afraid. I'm sure the new generations are still afraid. So that's something that tells you. And also to see the big differences. Like, at this age, my grandmother already had 10 children. They were already grown, and but it's only my grandmother is very nearby. Like the changes are slowly coming, and we do need to fight because it's a power thing. And I don't mean go out and hit someone by fighting, but first to educate yourself, to position yourself, and to ask the rights that you deserve. Because they are not going to just hand it to you. And that's something that I learned also with my work with disability. Like we cannot just wait for the theaters to just change the theaters and make them accessible. We have to go there and be present. And that does just with our presence, I think that's how we fight. And yes, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And in our interview, we saw as well. Okay, things are happening, so it is working. You were talking about festivals and theaters that are implementing wheelchair ramps and making corridors wide enough for people to maneuver in wheelchairs, etc. So there are things happening. More shows are being translated. Forgot the word.
So sign language interpreted.
Interpreted into sign language. Interpreted. There was the word. Being interpreted as well. I've back in the days when we could still perform. Some time ago by now, I was performing in a festival in Switzerland, and there was an interpreter there for many of the shows, which was something that I haven't encountered before, and was something for me like, whoa. And then I stopped and I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, of course, it makes sense. And why have I not seen that in other festivals before? So you ask yourself backwards then, okay, finding interpreters can't be that difficult that you can't implement it, especially on a big festival that is attracting a big crowd, especially when it's outdoors where you have a lot of walk-by audience as well, where you on purpose want to address a wide range of people and keep it accessible, which is part of the reason why you do it outside in the public space. So things are happening, so that is great. You mentioned earlier the thing about being afraid of walking alone in the dark, and I had a conversation not so long about it with a friend of mine, and we were talking as well about these topics a little bit, and as well a little bit about, okay, what should men really be aware of? And one point that came out of that discussion as well was, okay, if you're a man and you're walking in the evening on a street and there is a woman walking there as well, you can do something to make her feel more safe. Don't walk 2 steps behind her. She's gonna freak out for good reasons, because of this collective thing that we learned. Okay, there, he's gonna rape me now. So okay, it's also then just paying respect to say, okay, it's not a difficulty for me to take more distance or to go onto the other side of the street. That's just being respectful as well, and to be aware of those things. How does my behavior affect the people around me? To pay attention to that, to ask the people in your surrounding, hey, how does my actions, how does my behavior affect you? And to actively go out and ask as well, because yes, we are not aware of many things independent of our gender. So the only way that can be solved is by educating yourself, as we mentioned before. And that is through discussions, through asking your friends, by actively asking and getting that information.
Yeah, I think you have a really important point, and it's just also asking and validating the other opinion and listen to it, because when you are in the situation of privilege, it's going to be very difficult for you to see the problem, you know. And I have encountered many male friends that say, but what do you mean? No, all my friends had the same opportunities that I had in my school. It was the same. Like, ask your friends. Of course, from your perspective, that's what you see. So just asking and validating and being aware that there is something there, I think that's more than enough. That's great. That's the first step. Yeah, I think that's how you can join the feminist movement.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to me like it would be a great moment to finish on this point and finish this discussion right here. And please, for the people watching on YouTube, share thoughts, comments, remarks, your own stories, whatever you want to, put it down in the comments, or feel free to join our Discord server. There will be a link in the video description where there is a more private space where you can talk with all of us as well, and a lot of other people from the community, trying to give things a voice. There is a space for that, and we are trying to create this community there, to have this exchange with other artists, with also with some non-artists that are passionate about arts. So that's a great place to go to. Then, of course, there are a bunch of artists sitting around me, and you should definitely watch more of their art as well. So where can people find you?
I will promote Concuerpos. So you can find us
Yes.
on our webpage, concuerpos.com. And on Instagram, you can find me like at laVie. I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with the posts. Like, like we just talked about it, and I'm always like, should I put pictures of my food, because everyone is doing that, or when I go on holidays, I have to remember to post that I'm super happy. But still, you can reach me there. I try to share my work and what I do, and
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, like my full name, Lisanne van Berlo, and Lisanne is with a Y, because many people make a mistake. It's with an I,
We'll
but
put it down there.
yeah,
as
so
well.
with a Y. And on Facebook, and I have then my video also on YouTube. And that's it. Yes.
Definitely.
And you can find me on my website. I guess we can put it.
We put it in there.
It's just like marianacado.com and on Instagram as well, Marianacado.
Nice. You can find more about Capta laVie on captalavie.com, of course. Just go on the YouTube channel. There's a lot of stuff to discover, many different artists, many other interviews, many behind the scenes, lots of things. So just explore. Then there's, of course, our Discord server, as I mentioned before. And if you want to know more about just me as a person, there is my website as well in the description below. Thank you. And thanks to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice.
So good.
Yeah.
Ba-da-da-dum.